we're going to talk a little bit about discovery deficiency memos, right? They're used very simply in a bunch of different ways. Number one, they're used to accompany a motion to compel in court. But before we file a motion to compel, we could do our 5H letter to opposing counsel and say, will you agree to produce these documents? All right. Then they could be put in a motion to compel. And if we have to go to court and argue the motion to compel because opposing counsel says, we don't have these documents, we're not producing these documents, we're not producing even if we had these documents. Right? You'll hear anything out there that you could possibly imagine on a motion to compel. Then, after they give us those documents, we may file a motion for sanctions. And that's where it may take several different motions in order to get the court to award financial sanctions. Right? Then possibly also use it again at trial as part of a motion in limine to prevent the other side from being able to introduce evidence that they didn't produce in discovery. All right? So as part of the motion to compel, we will usually use it as an attachment. Okay? See Exhibit A. Now, we're of course assuming we've issued a standard set of interrogatories, requests for production of documents in a divorce. All right, so what is more important? Tax returns, investment statements, credit card statements, email, utility bills, or employer expense reimbursement? Martha?
I'm going to go with tax returns. W-2s. We need to know the other party's income.
The answer is we don't know.
Okay.
Probably not utility bills. We could pretty much mark that out. So we don't know what we're looking for when we're doing this. Okay. Now let's talk about tax returns. If you go to the Forensic Accounting Desk Book and you look at, you have a section on what is a tax return. Paralegals need to know that. Right? A tax return is not just the first 2 pages of a 1040. It's all the attachments and schedules that were filed with the return, but also there are attachments and schedules that are not filed with return, just held at the CPA's office. So if in doubt, look at our CPA subpoena. It's also in the Forensic Accounting Desk Book and in our forms. So you have to pay attention to what is produced and what remains to be produced. So we could get a tax return without the W-2, and we need the W-2 because the information on there is important. We may need a K-1 to study the K-1 that was used to prepare the return, but they didn't include it. All right, so part of that is the lawyer's responsibility to figure out what should be produced and what is missing. So ask questions. Especially, take Schedule A, for example. Schedule A in a tax return is deductions instead of the standard deduction. So on my tax return and most of our clients' tax return, you have mortgage interest, and that's what allows you to deduct healthcare expenses and other types of real estate taxes can come off of Schedule A. And usually if you've got a home, you don't get the benefit of the standard deduction, you use Schedule A. Well, if we have Schedule A in 2016, 2017, 2018, but not with the 2019 return, well, maybe something changed. But we would still expect to see another Schedule A unless told otherwise. And the lawyer can double check to see if there was a standard deduction used or the Schedule A amount. Okay. Now, if you don't know exactly what I just said, learn. I'll try to walk you all through that. But second, investments. When we're talking about investments, we're always thinking about statements and transactions. All right. So if you've got an account at Schwab, Merrill Lynch, Wells Fargo, you can get a statement showing all transactions for a year. And just have them. And that's what we want. But we also want balances as of 12/31 for every year for as many years as we need. How do we determine what do we need? We ask for, and we try to get as much as we can, but if we ask for 5 years of investment, and assuming that the divorce we're talking about here is 20 plus years marriage, and they give us 2 years of investment statements, that's not going to be enough, okay? But if it's a 3-year marriage and they give us 2 years of investments, we probably still need that first year, because in a short-term marriage, we need to know what the balance was as of the date of the marriage. Okay, so everything in terms of length of time, level of thoroughness matters. Credit cards. The credit card page of a statement that's missing is the one that we need. Okay. So if we know there's a gap there in February of 2019, there's a Valentine's Day gift on that card. All right. So one missing statement, one missing page of a statement matters. Email, that's up to the lawyer of what we're going to include that in our deficiency memo that's relevant about the case. But in general, we generally don't press that in the event, unless we're going to trial, or we're doing depositions or something like that, or we're looking for a specific set of email. Utility bills, we know when MLG&W gets paid, because it comes out of either a credit card or another account, unless it's a very large amount. So odds are utility bills we can live without, and it's going to be low in our priority list, and we'll talk about that in a second. Employer expense reimbursement, always important, all right? But, and so if you drive down to court, park, you're going to have mileage and parking, and you do expense reimbursement, you're going to get a check from Miles Mason Family Law Group. When somebody goes to a conference or a trade show in Vegas, that request for reimbursement is going to be much bigger. And the question is, what's food and entertainment on there? And who's going with the person? All right, so we're going to come back to why this is important, the relative importance. So, and there's 2 ways that it's relatively important. One is actual, and the second one is perceived. And we'll talk about why that matters in just a minute. Now, how do you actually draft a deficiency memo? Discovery deficiency memo. We got essentially 3 main elements. What documents were requested, what documents have been produced, and what documents remain unproduced, when we're going to use the word failed. Okay. Husband failed to produce A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And we'll talk about 4 in just a second. Now, request it. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. One is rather informal. Okay, so interrogatory number 5. The way this is listed in our example of Smith versus Smith, case number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Interrogatory number 5, requested husband identify the description, number of shares, title, current market value, and debt amount for any stocks, bonds, securities, mutual funds, or tax shelters, limited partnerships, and investments owned by him in which he has an interest. That's a mouthful, okay? So if you wanted, as you're preparing for your motion to compel, what do you want to say? You could say, interrogatory number 5 requests investment assets. Could be a business, could be stocks, bonds. All right. Now, in this particular case, as far as what was produced or answered, because you either answer a question or you respond to a request for production of documents by producing a document. This one, request number 2, refers to husband responded C response to RPD number 2. Request number 2 refers to pension, deferred compensation, or 401k plans, profit sharing plan, or stock purchase plans. There were no documents responsive to this interrogatory produced. Okay? Now, with the rules of civil procedure, you can refer to a request for production of documents, but it needs to be clear, all right, that there are none. So if you reference a separate RPD with an interrogatory answer, there better be something there. And so here we put in this example, this answer is deficient in that husband failed to identify and describe the number of shares, blah, 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 blah. All right. Now you could say, to shorten this up, to make it even sweeter, short and sweet, interrogatory number 5 seeks disclosure of investment assets and debts. Now, if you're trying to be very cryptic and go fast, since we know that there's no, in this example, there is no production of documents, you can put in there either answered by saying see request or response to request number 2, in which there was no information provided, or just say no information, or husband failed to provide any information or documents, period. Okay, now same thing for response to request number 2. This one was where we do our tax, our income. So we could write in our memo here, request number 2 seeks income information, including but not limited to tax returns and documents and supporting documents. Now, but we have a list here: W-2 statements, 1099, supporting schedules, any other federal income reporting documents that reflect gross income, deduction, bonuses. All right. So we have lots of different documents listed within the request. Obviously, we're not going to list out the whole request, right? If there were, for tax returns, if there were some tax returns produced, there's a couple of different ways. For example, if the lawyer says we have everything we need from 2018, great, we don't need to list 2018. But if we're missing key documents from 2017, we can always say including but not limited to A, B, and C. All right, and only list the deficiencies. Does that make sense? All right, but in what's deficient, if there's no 1099s and there's not a reference to a 1099, okay, so usually, if I'm not mistaken, line 1 is going to be all income. What you should be able to take is all the W-2s, 1099s, add them together, and that should be all your income. Okay. Now, makes this challenging, especially when it comes to tax returns, because there's so many different documents that could be produced, and many times we're not going to know what documents were withheld. That's where my experience and judgment as a CPA can come in. I can help with that. Ask me, I'm glad to do it. All right, so if I have all the paperwork produced and there's no supporting schedules, and we've got a number of other, I wanted to explain this. There is a difference in the word schedule when it comes to tax returns. There's two definitions of the word schedule. Number one, it could be a formal title of a document. As we discussed earlier, Schedule A, which is your deductions. And if you have enough deductions under Schedule A, it exceeds the standard deduction that you would otherwise get on your tax return, like as a single lady. The single lady is going to be using standard deduction, unless single lady also owns a home, all right, and is paying property taxes. All right, now the other thing is it could be a descriptive term of a document that can be filed with the return or not filed with the return. So you're going to see, especially in older returns, printouts of things that look like a dot matrix printer did it and say schedule of such and such, such and such, and there's no number with it, and it's filed with the return. Well, when we go to the CPA, we want schedules that are not filed as well, that help support the tax return in the event of an audit. And that's what's magic about CPAs. All right? Now, but exactly how you organize what was not produced compared to what was produced, and for certain high asset, high conflict cases, we may do a discovery production memo. So when we receive a wave of discovery from opposing counsel, we list everything that we received. All right? It may take 10 to 30 hours to put together that. And we may even, with the discovery production memo, bait stamp. But that's a different discussion. All right? Or work with the other side and have a joint index for bait stamp documents. Now, so it is possible that if you're trying to move quick in a discovery deficiency memo, there are opportunities, and if you look at my forensic accounting desk book, I skipped the discussion of what was produced. Okay. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that. Actually.
Yeah. So I just skipped it. So you could shortly say, request number 2, requests all income documentation, including but not limited to tax returns. We received tax returns from 2016, 2017, but not 2018 or 2019. That could be it. Okay. That's it. Doesn't have to be complicated. But if it is a complex estate, a lot of money, a lot of pages, that we want to compare what was in each return through the years. And if you want to know why that's important, I've got a section in the book, Forensic Accounting Desk Book, How to Look at Tax Returns to Find Missing Assets. Okay. So, now, what's number, let's do one more. No, I think that's fine. Now, what's number 4? This is again art, we want to reorder this in most cases, order of importance. All right, so what's weird about arguing a motion to compel? Right? On one hand, you cannot tell a court, we want you to order discovery. They didn't give us hardly anything. I need the discovery. You can't argue that in court. You're going to have to give the court, I mean, maybe it would work that way, but I've never seen it work. You're going to need to tell the court a good list of what was missing. All right. One of the things we need for pensions, we need our 5 docs. Right? That's pretty important, but it's not as important in terms of perceived value versus actual. The 5 documents for pensions are terribly important in reality, but it's harder to explain to a judge why those 5 documents are important. But a judge understands we're going to have the tax returns, for goodness sake. We're going to have, I want the 1231 pay stub. Why is the 1231 pay stub important, Allison?
It shows, it's the end of the year. It shows a summary of everything year to date.
It's the best pay stub of them all, assuming they're on a calendar year. Calendar year, not a fiscal year. But, I'll tell you, Your Honor, I need 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 tax returns. I don't have any. So tax returns appears is the most simple document, and a judge should be able to understand. Without that, we can't review the estate. How do we know what the income of the parties are? All right. Now, we got a Your Honor, this is a $5 million estate. I need to see those investments at the party's Merrill Lynch accounts for the last 5 years, and all I got was a statement from March of 2019. Okay, judge, I needs that. I needed the date of if it's a short-term marriage, I needed the statement from the date of the marriage. Credit cards. If we're trying to get documents out of the husband and the credit cards, we've got 15 credit cards and they rotate balances out and $75,000 to $150,000 in debt, and they're running shell games. You tell the judge, we got to have every single statement because money's moving around on those credit cards. Sometimes they're paid off in full, sometimes their balances are transferred. We got to see what's there. During this time, we are looking for specific dissipation that may be recorded in the credit cards, right? So we need every single credit card. And if a credit card didn't exist in a particular month, say February of 2016, then show me March of 2016 that says beginning balance March 14th. Not March 1, March 14th. That statement's going to show us. So we need the credit card statement. That's the first one, so we can track it. Now, email again is kind of a special thing. Usually that's going to be, or even text messages or any type of other electronic evidence, that's going to be handled specially. So anytime we're going to go after a motion to compel, we're going to have to show an actual need. All right. But if we know what we're looking for, and we can cross between an actual need and a perceived need to have both, then yeah, we may lead with it. Utility bills we're not going to need unless we're looking for something specific. Again, we're going to have payments reflected over there. That would be very low in our deficiency memo. Now, why did I include this here? If the judge actually picks up our deficiency memo, and item number 1 is husband failed to provide utility bills, the judge is going to look at me and makes it. That's your first one. All right. That's order of importance. The perceived value of utility bills way down near the end. Okay. The perceived value of a tax return very high, even if we actually already know those numbers or we got the W-2s and they're the actual value may not be nearly as important as the perceived value, but we got to go with the perceived value because we're in the courtroom and we don't have time to explain complex relationships between and among documents and information we need to prepare a marital balance sheet. Okay? Does that make sense? We don't want number 1 to be utility bills. All right? Employer expense reimbursements. Now, that one, if an employee doesn't have them, they've got access to them. They can go and ask the business for them. Or we can also issue a subpoena. Now, if we know we got a traveling salesman, we got a pilot, we got this, we got that, we may want to go ahead and issue a subpoena, but if we don't, the employer expense reimbursement form, which is going to be on here somewhere in the RPDs, may be pretty high. But we're going to need to be able to tie it to a perceived need, a high perceived need. And that may be that, Your Honor, we believe that the husband has a separate account when he gets a check for his expense reimbursements, that is a separate marital asset that may not have been disclosed yet. Now, that's not a great argument to make in court because we don't ever want to talk about undisclosed accounts, but if we know our guy travels a lot and we know that he spends a lot on the road and he doesn't have a business credit card, then he's being reimbursed. Well, where's that money? We need to be able to trace it. Okay? So, order of importance is always tricky. That's going to be, and it's really, once you have your deficiency drafted, then you move it around for the lawyer. And we also have another example from, that hopefully will be along with this one in the discovery notebook that you can look at that has numbers. I do prefer to number the deficiencies because many times when we do, let's say we've got 130 deficiencies and it's a meaningful size estate, and the other lawyer goes to the judge and says, they listed 130 deficiencies. I'm never going to be able to get that. I get to argue, Your Honor, this is a meaningful estate, and the reason why there was 130 deficiencies listed is we didn't get anything. All right? My client doesn't have these records. Her client does. We need them to put together a settlement. Now, items 120 through 130 may not be the most important in the world, but we're going to have them if we go to trial. Might as well get them now. And I definitely need all the other information to prepare for mediation. Do you want me to try to settle this case at mediation? If so, compel them, issue a court order to compel the husband to give his lawyer the documents and give them to us. For the investment accounts, yeah, there may be as many 5, 6, 7 accounts, but they're all on PDF. What are we talking about? Download them. Give me the annual statements. I can read them. It's not going to be that many. And if there are, that's my problem. So don't worry about 130. Now, I would worry about having, we don't want to nitpick beyond the size of the estate either. If we've got an estate under $100,000, our discovery deficiency may be limited. Just tax returns, investment, credit cards. It could include cash and savings, checking and savings with that. Employer expense reimbursement, whatever. You know, some try to keep it within reason. And when you don't know whether something's within reason, ask the lawyer. Okay? That's what the lawyer's job is. Okay? Any questions? So again, we're going to do it in the order of importance based on perceived value, not necessarily the actual value, but keep it straight up. Your Honor, we didn't get tax returns. We didn't get any investment statements. We got no checking statements. We got no credit card statements. For the credit card statements we only had page 1, whatever it is. Okay. And if you need advice and help on what level of detail you need to go to the lawyer. Ask me. Okay. When do you remove item number 2? Ask the lawyer as you begin. I'm kind of on the fence. I included in my book examples that didn't have a summary of what was produced because I thought it's easier and cleaner. But I don't want to say that it's always that way. I do like to have what was produced, especially in a higher conflict case. And if we're going to go ahead and do a discovery production memo, write it so that it can be cut and paste. The advantage of a discovery production memo is that if we have waves of discovery that we receive, we might be able to track it, all right? And be able to say, oh, we got that on April 19th, 2021. Okay. Oh, we got that one on February 16th, 2020. Okay. Any questions? All right, cut us.